A while back, I was in the middle of making a video about hurricane preparedness when lo and behold, Hurricane Beryl came barreling right to my neck of the woods. So I am going to just kind of make this video a compilation of the suggestions I had before the hurricane as well as what we went through. So come join us. Let's get started. We're going to talk about the top 20 things that I feel, based on my own personal experience with disaster preparedness, these are the things that I think are the most important, and it's not in any particular order other than just when they came into my head. I have them on a little sticky pad here. I'm just going to read them to you. The first thing that I have is water. We can't go very long without water. So it's important to not only have a nice stockpile of water and also have a water filtration system, because if you are refilling a bunch of jugs and then putting them off in the corner for 6 months or something, you're going to need to find a way to filter them. So if you have a Berkey, or if you have one of those Sawyer water squeeze bottles, those are good things to have on hand. Water preps are important. I think it's called a water bob, but it's like this big water bladder. It's a one-time use. You put it in your bathtub. If you know that a hurricane is coming and that there's a chance there may be a disruption in your water supply, it can't be contaminated because it's inside this big bladder, and then you just use it as needed. Next thing on my list is shelf-stable food, and then food preps. Just in the month of May, we've lost power multiple times. We've had flooding, we've had tornadoes, and then we've had the power go out for no reason whatsoever. It's just very important to have shelf-stable foods, things that are in Mylar bags, things that you can just add water to, hot water, such as the little instant cups of macaroni and cheese or mashed potatoes. A good example of a food prep would be like one of those jet boil systems where you're able to boil water. We have a gas stove, so we've been able to just light it whenever we've lost power. Foods that are ready to eat, cans of Progresso, the water's already added, you just open it and eat it, or the rice that's already cooked. They've got those Denny Moore little meals that you can open and eat. Now, they're probably not going to taste the best when they're room temperature, when they're not heated up. They don't require any kind of refrigeration or any complicated cooking methods. If you're able to cook foods outside over an open fire, if you've got things like a Dutch oven, don't forget about your pets. We prep for ourselves, but we need to make sure that we are prepping for our pets. If they got any kind of medical needs, make sure that you have their medication on hand, up to date. It's kind of tricky with pet food. You can't really store for a long time because it's going to get rancid. It's got oils in it and it's just not really going to last that long. You want to have like an extra bag on hand or something, but you can't just have years worth. You want to have a way to communicate with your family or with other people. So if you've got like a ham radio or walkie-talkies, or if there was just a disruption in the cell service, again, something that we've experienced a lot recently. If something happens and your family's not all in the same place when it happens, let's say you've got a teenager at school, you've got a spouse at work, you want to be able to communicate with your loved ones if you can't do so through your cell phone. You want to make sure that you have batteries for your flashlights, candles, and matches, lighters. At the Dollar Tree, they've got those solar lights that you can just put outside and charge them. You can put them in each room of the house. They kind of act like a little night light. You can just push a button and they'll light the room up. We also find them to be really helpful on our stairs. We put some on the wall up our stairway, and it just makes it easier if you've lost power and you live in a 2-story home to just get up and down the stairs. If you can afford some kind of generator, whether it's one to for your whole house. We've got a couple that will do major appliances like our refrigerator, our deep freezer, and you just want to make sure that you have fuel for the generators, that you're testing them out every month, making sure that they work. Corey is the one that usually deals with our generators, but I need him to show me how to do it because he travels a lot, and it seems like whenever he's gone is when shtf is happening. You want to make sure that you have enough cash on hand. This is something else I learned in the month of May. We had a disruption with our pharmacies, our grocery stores. Power was out, but they were still selling things, but you had to pay cash because the Wi-Fi wasn't working to take the credit cards. So just make sure that you keep some cash on hand. Make sure you have a nice variety of medical supplies. I've made videos on this topic before. Headache medicine, cold medicine, whatever you think you might need if you were unable to get to the pharmacy for a period of time, to cover all possible ailments. Having bandages and gauzes, make sure you have stuff to clean wounds. The Dollar Tree sell things like if you get a sprain on your wrist, your knee, whatever, they sell little bandages that kind of help you heal and prevent swelling. And make sure you have some things to barter. Now, bartering is not really going to be a necessity unless it's a long-term shtf situation, but it's good to be able to trade somebody for something. Let's say you need some matches and someone else says, well, I'll give you some matches, but I need can opener. Maybe that's something that you have, those little handheld can openers that you can get from the Dollar Tree. So just make sure you have some items on hand that you think might be useful to someone else that you could trade in an emergency situation. If you've got a neighbor that might be vulnerable or might need some looking in on, it'd be good to kind of prep for them as well. We've got to look out for each other. You know, it takes a village, as they say. If you've got a neighbor who maybe is a senior citizen, they might be a widow, a widower, single mom, somebody with some kind of disability or is on a fixed income, it would be nice to prep a little bit for them as well. I can tell you that in the month of May, when I was prepared, but a lot of people in my community were not prepared, they lost power for days. They had to throw away a lot of their food in their freezer and their refrigerator. And I was able to provide to some people who were in need. Now, I can't do that for everybody, and obviously we have to take care of our own family. Medical checkups, your vision, your dental, your just overall health. It's just, you don't want to be in a situation if we were to lose power or have some kind of natural disaster that had us all displaced and have any kind of health issues. It's important to consider being physically prepared for any kind of a disaster. You never know if you're going to need to bug out. There was some kind of EMP that took out not only the power but our cars, and we had to hoof it. You just want to make sure that you are in decent enough physical shape to be able to get from point A to point B. Physical health and mental health kind of go hand in hand. If you are taking care of yourself physically, it will help you improve your mental wellness, and we need to be mentally fit to deal with any kind of disaster, because when the you-know-what hits the fan is not the time to have a mental breakdown. I mean, we need to be strong for others, for our family, for our neighbors, for our community. Having a bug-out bag and a get-home bag is important. So the difference between the two, a bug-out bag is exactly what it sounds like when you need to bug out, when you need to leave your house. A hurricane is coming, or your neighborhood is flooding, or there's a wildfire and the authorities are telling everybody you need to evacuate, you need to get out. So it would have change of clothing, it would have, you know, a water bottle, and this would be for every member of your family. It would have some food that you can open and eat, maybe some packets of tuna fish and some crackers. You want to make sure that, again, you've got the water filtration system like the Sawyer mini squeeze, or just some way to filter water if you're having to stop off at a creek or a lake or something, and you don't want to just drink the water straight from there. It's got a lot of impurities and you need to filter out the gunk. Maybe a little medicine kit, if you get a scrape, some ointment, a Band-Aid. A get-home bag would be something you keep in your car. One day something happens, some kind of disaster, and you can't get home, then you're going to need to get out and walk. Corey works about 20 miles from the house, so he would need to plan on however long it would take him to walk home. If it would be, can he do it all in one day? The goal is to get home, so you want to have a comfortable pair of shoes you can walk a long distance in, a change of clothes, some food and water that's ready to go. You might want to have some matches if it's cold and you need to start a fire. Next, you're going to want to make sure that you have yours and your family's important documents. Again, if you had to flee, if you had to leave quickly, you want to make sure that you've got your ID, your social security cards, birth certificates, passports, any kind of information you would need to identify yourself. Walking shoes. If you already have a pair of walking shoes, get yourself another pair just to have on standby, because if anything was to happen, we have to protect our feet. If we're without our cars, if we're without gas, and we're having to walk everywhere, you want to have a good pair of shoes. And next, you're also going to want to have some seasonal preps. So if you live in areas that get cold, you want to make sure that you have plenty of blankets, hats, scarves. That's not really a huge concern where I live here in South Texas, but for us, it would be things like those portable battery-operated fans, or ones that you can charge. If something was to happen for the long term, you want to make sure that you have a plan in place. Are you one of those hunker down in your home, I'm going to protect my turf? Or are you one of those people that maybe you have somebody in your family with a special need or a medical need and you can't stay, you need to get out and go somewhere where you have electricity to charge a dialysis machine, or you need to put medication in the refrigerator? Have yourself an old school map. We rely so much on our phones, on Google Maps. We need to have a map of our area. If you have a camper, like we've got a camper in storage, if we need to evacuate and go to that, or if we want to go visit my mom that lives 3 hours away, what is our plan? And just make sure that the whole family is on board with that plan, because if disaster strikes and you have no way of contacting someone, they can be alert and ready to know that you are on your way there. You want to make sure you have some entertainment. If you are going to be without power for a while, you want to make sure that your morale, your mental focus is up. So have some crossword puzzles, have some coloring books, whether it be for adults or for children, just something to pass the time and to kind of ease the stress, different crafts. You also want to make sure that you have homesteading books, because we may not always have access to the internet to look things up. Start preparing with how to be self-sufficient, how to garden, how to do canning, how to hunt, fish. There's some Boy Scout books out there that I have in my collection of preparedness books that teach you how to build a fire, how to filter water, how to nurse an injury. Don't wait for disaster to strike to start teaching yourself how to do these things. Start practicing them now. You want to practice a scenario with your family, an shtf situation, so when the time comes, nobody's scared, nobody's panicking, everybody's calm, cool, and collected. You could kind of make it fun. Do a camp out. Practice setting up your tent or your hammock out in the yard. Practice by keeping the lights off and the power off one day. Seeing how you can cook in the dark. Practice a bug out situation, like where are we going to meet up? If we lose communication, try to get out of debt if you're able to, And the reason I say that is, number one, it's not good to be in debt to anybody, because you end up paying out the nose. They have it designed where you pretty much stay in debt forever. And if something was to happen to you, you don't want the burden of your debt being left to your descendants. Crazy to think that a country that is over 30 something trillion dollars in debt can actually have a credit score on us. Try to live within a budget. Don't try to live beyond your means. And this is going to sound crazy too, is stay on top of your housework. There's been times where we've lost power, and I've been so thankful that I have finished all my loads of laundry and all my dishes. The last thing you want is dirty laundry piling up, dirty dishes piling up. I am sure there are many things that I left off this list, and if I did, please feel free to drop any suggestions you have in the comment section below. You know, there's so many good ideas out there on how to prepare for a disaster situation. A lot of these things, unfortunately, we don't learn from until we have that situation, and then we go, oh, I wish I would have done this differently and this differently. In the month of May, boy, that if that wasn't a dry run, I don't know what was, because every possible drill we experienced, from flooding to tornadoes. We lost power, and we would be without it for hours, and some people days at a time. There was a disruption in the supply chain getting things to the grocery store. Some of the grocery stores were without power and were only taking cash. A lot of the pharmacies in our area were closed, which is quite frightening. I can't imagine if you needed to pick something up that your life depended on and not being able to get it. People that were sitting outside of buildings, like maybe they lost power in their neighborhood, but the Specs or the CVS up the road was open. There'd be people sitting out with their phones plugged in, sitting on the ground, charging their phones. Before I had a chance to upload my video, lo and behold, Hurricane Beryl was heading our way, so I started dropping all these same tips on our local social media groups for our area, and I was encouraging people to go stock up on certain groceries and to go fill up the blessing box in our area for those who were going to lose power. And this was a very strange hurricane. The damage it did was less flooding, but more destruction by the falling of trees. I'm about to show you what it did to our house. We were pretty lucky, but our neighbors not so much. Kingwood is known as the livable forest, and that's what drew me to this community, were all the trees. So we back up to the greenbelt, and several of the greenbelt trees fell into our yard and knocked part of our fence down and some of our deck. While Corey gets the generators going, I am going to go make sure that everything is plugged in. We did lose power, surprise, surprise. We've got all these extension cords that are hooked up to our 2 refrigerators as well as our deep freezer. We are so fortunate that we have a couple of generators. We had thought about buying one of those home generators, but are still trying to figure out if we want to do that, since we do plan on leaving in the next couple of years. But for now, these are getting the job done. We are also able to plug in our portable AC units, and I don't know what we would do without them. It was hot. We decided to drive around our neighborhood and check out the damage. Unfortunately, not only did a lot of people lose power, but they also lost their cell coverage because there were cell towers down everywhere. There were people that were panic-stricken trying to get a hold of loved ones, but they couldn't reach them. So those of us who did have a signal were trying to drive to people's homes and check on them and let their loved ones know that they were safe. Trees blocking the road, people driving the wrong way, This is my chiropractor's office. This is at the entrance to our neighborhood. I just wanted to take a moment to update you that we finally got our power back on after, I don't know, my whole week has been a blur. It's either been 4 or 5 days. I'm unsure. It might as well be weeks because with the summer heat, it's been a nightmare. And sadly, people have lost their lives. Pets have lost their lives, especially ones with breathing issues. There was an English bulldog in my neighborhood who died. There's been a pug, a boxer. It's just a sad situation. Many people have similar stories, people who've had trees falling on their homes. This hurricane has been a lot different than Hurricane Harvey. Harvey brought a lot of flooding to our area. It didn't impact us personally, but this Hurricane Beryl, which I think is appropriately named, has impacted a lot of people. So as you can see, my hair is all knotted up. I'm starting to get dreadlocks because even though I was able to take a shower, I couldn't blow dry my hair. And even though we have generators and a couple of little portable AC units, you still sweat profusely in this Texas heat. We had gas. We were able to keep the generators going. We had gas in our cars. We had food. We had water. We had batteries, fans, all the basics. Things that we did not have. We have a chainsaw, but it's like a little handheld chainsaw. There were major trees that were blocking every road on every street that we went down, and we were kind of on our own. We didn't have the help that we were promised by our mayor. Before the hurricane started, during the press conference, they said they would have people on standby if they were there. We didn't see them. FEMA was nowhere to be seen. Red Cross was nowhere to be seen. The community coming together and pitching in was the only way that things were going to get done. We were really left to fend for ourselves. We just all pitched in the best we could. You had neighbors that had generators running their refrigerators who were storing breast milk for nursing moms who didn't have power. There were people letting complete strangers stay in their homes, taking in their pets. We watched a dog for my client who didn't have power. Hurricane season is just beginning. We lost our fence, but we've decided, you know what, we're not even going to put it back up because it's supposed to be a rough hurricane season, which I think goes until December. We'll try to just MacGyver it some way. I've got a week's worth of laundry and dishes that I need to do. I don't know if I said that already in the video I was working on, but make sure that if you hear a hurricane is coming to your area, get all your chores done. We did not run our dishwasher, so we were really low on dishes, but thankfully we have paper plates and utensils and cups. We couldn't pass up this deal on this propane generator at Costco. My sweet husband helping someone else load a generator into their car. I want to give a big, huge shout out to all the linemen who came from all over the country to help get us our power back. This guy came from North Carolina. Shout out to Whataburger app for keeping us more in the loop than Centerpoint. Thank you to Planet Fitness for opening their gym and facilities to the public, whether you had a membership or not. Thank you to the kind strangers who came and helped us cut down trees so we could get to the cats at this rescue. Thank you, Kingwood Taco Shop, for helping us feed the linemen. We pay good money for the Trail Association to manage the green belts, and there's a lot of dead trees back there, and they fell into our yard during the hurricane. Well, not only did they knock part of our deck and fence down, but the Trail Association, they're not responsible for these trees, so we're just going to go ahead and cut them down and toss them back over to the greenbelt where they will be their responsibility. Think smarter, not harder. At the time of editing this video, there are still a lot of trees that appear to be dead and looking like they're going to fall any second now, and it's just very unsettling now that school has started. The kids are back in school, and a lot of them take the trails to avoid the major streets. Bee loves her new expanded backyard, and we do too. We're standing in the forest behind our house. We just put up this temporary fence just long enough to get us through the hurricane season, which is supposed to be an active one because of La Nina. Stay blessed, my friends. See you next time.